Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I know this is a weird way to present an activity, but as we all know, times have changed. So, why don't we change our ways to interact too? Now, let's get to the topic. Have you ever wondered what if oil were to disappear? Like instantly. Oil creates plastics that go into cheap products that make life so convenient and is even refined into life-saving medicines. With oil so critical to civilization, what would happen to the civilization if it ran out? The most obvious effect would be that billions of vehicles which wouldn't be able to drive people to work all around the world. The sudden disappearance of oil would devastate most economies as workers simply cannot get to work anymore. Surprisingly, the lights would still be on around most of the world, so the internet would still work in India as only 0.1% of power plants burn oil. Coal makes up the bulk of the Indian energy market, followed by a smaller share of nuclear power and hydropower, and lastly renewables such as solar and wind. Yet eventually the grid would start to power down as the oil that drives the trains and trucks that transport coal and gas runs out. Cars would be useless at least for a while. The disappearance of oil would necessitate the switch to natural gas to make our cars. Without oil to bring food to the supermarkets, an artificial famine would strike, killing millions while food rots in farmers' fields. Until enough infrastructure can be converted to use natural gas, humanity would revert to a pre-industrial lifestyle where the majority of the population lives in the countryside. China and India, with the world's fastest developing economies and greatest energy needs, would be shaken to their foundation as the drying up of oil reserves brings the great engines of their economies to an absolute halt. The disappearance of oil would not mean the apocalypse so often predicted. Natural gas is an abundant resource. While not as high performing as oil, natural gas is perfectly capable of powering our civilization. However, even though natural gas is seen as cleaner than most other fuels because it emits so little carbon dioxide, it actually emits a great deal of methane, which has greater warming potential than carbon dioxide. Oil won't disappear anytime soon, though our coastlines and the very global air and water current that make our planet such a wonderful mild place to live definitely will. And if any of your friends still doubt that, hit them in the face with a science textbook. How do you think humanity would fare in a world without oil? What would be your survival strategy? Think about that. Thank you.